Welcome. Here it is, November 3rd's behind us, and the election enters a new phase. Challenges and recounts have started on a national level, while here in New Mexico, Republican leaders are performing post-election analysis. Nationally, Donald Trump ran on being Donald Trump. He's the brand. Big media and tech were not buying the brand, and they did everything. They sacrificed their souls to bury him. In the Libertarian Party is not learned what the Green Party has. Don't run in states where you are a spoiler. Notice that the Greens didn't run in Wisconsin. What am I talking about? Once the challenges are over, it will most likely show that the Libertarian had not been on the ballot in Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. Donald Trump would be the next president. Libertarians have helped elect a candidate for more taxes, more regulations, more military action, and less freedom. Republicans, social conservatives, and social libertarians have a lot in common. Lower taxes, lower regulations, and more freedom. It's time in our state that we come together and bring those groups together so we can be united, because if we're not united, we'll never win another election. And when we talk about coming together nationally, coming together united, it first starts with our party, with like-minded people. Then once we achieve that unity, we're able to reach across the aisle and become one solid nation that can defend our country against others. Thank you. Welcome to The Point with Mick Rich. I'm here with my good buddy, Carla Sonntag. Carla, I've known you for how long now?
Forever.
Forever, long time. I can remember. Now, you are the president founder of the Mexico Business Coalition.
Correct.
And if I remember right, I believe I attended your first event.
I think you did.
I was there with that, probably what, about 40, 50 people were in the room at that time?
Yes. Yes.
I would think that. It was a tight-knit group, and it was kind of like us against them.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And that was neat. So one of the things that I noticed the first time at that first event, it was a matter of not only was it a business organization, but you started with a prayer, and it wasn't a prayer by rote. It was a prayer, a heartfelt prayer.
Yes, and then we follow with the pledge. We start God and country, and then we get down to business.
That's right. I like that idea. Down to business. Now, what's about your organization for our viewers that don't know?
Well, it was about 12 years ago, and we started it because we saw this progressive wave taking over the state, and it was our intent to push back. We're looking for a better business environment, better living quality for all New Mexicans.
Good. I tell you what, and if I remember right, before the Mexico Business Coalition, you were with the Roofers Association.
Yes.
And if I remember right, I'm not trying to dig up old wounds here, right? But for our viewers to understand is that any conservative that stands up for what's right against the powers in Santa Fe, they come down hard with a heavy hammer, and I know they went after you guys, and that was one of the reasons you said, okay, you're moving away from the Roofers Association and into the New Mexico Business Coalition.
Well, actually, I had done all that I could do with the roofers, and we had accomplished a lot. We pushed back on those things that they were trying to cram down our throats.
Right.
But I had bigger thoughts for the state, and I thought what we needed was a bigger approach to business in general. and a grassroots operation to bring in the average Joe and Jane into the fold, to get involved in making New Mexico a better place.
In what you mentioned about the average Joe and Jane, what we're talking about here is the hardworking men and women of our state.
Absolutely. And you know, it's interesting because even college students, retirees, they take an interest in our work, because if we're creating a better job environment, it benefits everyone.
That's right.
We can keep the college students here, or try to.
Yeah.
The retirees can look for lower taxes if business
That's
is
right.
doing well. So everybody wins if business is winning in the state.
So one of the things that when I traveled the state in talking to people, they were frustrated with we're at the bottom of every good list in the state. We're at the bottom 10.
Right.
In one of them, and when I looked at those lists, it has to do with plentiful, good paying jobs, safe communities, and schools that work for our children. And you guys are focused on that first one, plentiful, good paying jobs.
Right, and you know, but that impacts education, because we want to keep our students here.
That's right.
We want to provide jobs for them. And so we have actually branched out a little bit in looking at the quality of education, because it's severely lacking in the state.
Oh.
And you know, we need,
That's
from
right.
construction, we need trades.
Oh, that's right. And I'm saying, but your group you're solely focused on the business environment, and then pulling up on the two sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is the safe communities and in education, just for our view. So here it is. On Tuesday morning, I got a call from our superintendent and said, man, they came in and busted the chain, stole the generator. And so the generator is probably $2,000–3,000. But in the meantime, there's 30 guys and gals standing around trying to figure out what to do next without electricity till we replace that generator.
Right.
The impact of crime in our state and on business is huge as well.
It is, and that's the reason why we've had to make safety and crime issues a top priority for our organization, because if a business isn't safe operating here, they can't. It's just like you found with your business. People can't work if they're not safe, and the units that they need to do their job are in place.
So then, getting back to the business side, in looking at those items, the question that I've noted to you is that it seems to me we have one philosophy is low taxes, low regulations will stimulate business, create good paying, plentiful jobs. Then we have that other idea, philosophy is more regulations, more taxes, so the government can hand out more money to people, more regulations such as the minimum wage, such as the paid leave and all that. I'm not saying those aren't important, but so how do you, when you go to Santa Fe, in your meeting with the legislators, they're up there saying, man, Carla, we're right on track with the workers, is that we're going to do these minimum wages, we're going to enact these regulations, man, it's going to be good. So how do you address that?
Well, unfortunately, they've got this group think going on where they're going to follow what they're told to follow. But when I can meet with them one-on-one and discuss what actually happens with government mandates, we're not against regulation. We're looking for reasonable regulation. So that's neither high nor low. It's reasonable to take care of the environment, to take care of the people. We need regulation. When it comes to government mandates, they don't work. They do not work, because what you'll see in a free enterprise system, look at what happened with Target. Target raised their minimum starting salary. Walmart followed suit. Why? Because Walmart was competing for that same employee. And if they wanted employees, they had to up the ante.
Oh, is that what happened? Is that why that happened?
Exactly. And that's free enterprise. And it works the same with everybody else. If an employer in New Mexico wants a good employee, they're going to pay. They're going to offer benefits, because if they don't, that person is going to go find what they want. They're going to find the pay, find the benefits that they need. And so what we've seen with free enterprise, employers will naturally increase what they're doing for employees.
Right, that's right, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. I can remember this was probably 20 years ago. I was in my office business was in a small little office warehouse complex. The guy next to me was replacing windows that had failed. He had a contract, and he was paying probably 40% less than I was. Well, the economy was slow. We were in a recession, and he was able to get plenty of carpenters. And then the economy picked up. He had the work, and he came in complaining to me one time, and he said, I can't find anybody to come to work for me. And I was paying 40% more than he was, and I was thinking, I think I actually told him this. Maybe you ought to think about paying a living wage if you want employees, because you're not paying enough.
Right.
And we're seeing that workers in New Mexico are going to Denver, Portland, where the wages are higher. And I don't care whether we raise the minimum wage here, those workers that are motivated to work are going to go where the wages are higher.
Right. And if government would get out of the way and let business operate in a free enterprise setting, it will take care of itself, and we'll find that equilibrium. The employees will find what they need here, because we're all competing for good employees.
I agree with that 100%, but we need to get that message across. Carla, we need to end this segment. We're going to move to the next one, but again, great having you here.
It's good to be here. Thanks.
Deep across the middle, and it's caught. Malik Phillips dancing away.
In the first half, he's been under pressure all game anyway. Smith back to pass. They're trying to set up the screen to Barker, and they've got blockers in front. Barker cuts it back. Barker in the open field, 40, 45, 50. Barker's got one man to beat. Barker may go to the house, and he will. Caden Barker Jordan Barker touchdown, Carlsbad.
But here we go. Let's see how he does.
Cabrales will kick off from the 40 and
drives it hard.
And here they try to see that reverse again.
He fakes it.
Oh, he's got it. He's got one man to beat and a blocker in front. 35, 40, 50, 45. He's gone. There's no Hornet that will catch him. Opening kickoff return for Slade Campos. 80 yards and.
Ball falls for Nava, puts it forward for Moyers. Moyers gets it past the keeper, and it's 2-1.
Denard all by himself. They're looking for him. They throw it in the end zone. Underthrown and caught. How about that? Mercy. Trevon Denard. Wow.
It's his night.
It's his night.
What's up? Uses that foot. No, this time she goes low. And there's a scrum there. The ball's loose. And it's up and it's in. How about that? Going top shelf.
Good dump, and then a good wherewithal to keep it up. There's Jones on a good dig. Martinez. Huggins was blocked into a middle. Kept alive and then dumped back over. Let's keep playing, girls. Cross court this time from Cooperno. Jones sets to the outside. McIntosh was blocked. That's knocked back over. We'll continue the rally. Cooper on the right hand. Back row and McIntosh. A little miscommunication with Lucero. Let's see if that fires up these Cougars. Harris has some time. And a roll out looking. Harris fires on the move and it's complete. Slipping one. It's Webskowski and another, and it's a foot race. Shot out of a cannon. Justin Webskowski. Can he take it all the way? Touchdown.
The Jaguars. There's Smith again, cuts it back. Nice run by Smith, still on his feet, going to the end zone. Touchdown.
Harris with the fake pitch, and now a run to the outside, and he's got some room. Nice move, Harris, look out. He's across the 40, a cut to midfield. He's got a blocker in front. Look out. Chance Harris, shot out of a cannon, and he's going to take it all the way. Touchdown.
Welcome back. I'm with my good buddy Carla. Carla, again, good having you here. We were touched on it a little bit, and that had to do with New Mexico is at the bottom of every list. And I'm saying the bottom 10, you know, the bottom 10.
We are on the top of some lists, but they're not good lists.
They're
we
not
don't want
good
to be on the top of those.
You know what amazed me was that New Mexico, Albuquerque, is like in the 10 worst for crime.
Yes.
In El Paso is at the 10 best for security. That to me was just so shocking. But I want to talk about what I'd mentioned, alluded before, was when I was on the campaign trail, I found New Mexican want plentiful, good paying jobs right here in New Mexico for their families. Mm-hmm. And one would think that the legislators would enact legislation that's going to create a good business environment. And I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing that's going the other direction. We've got a legislative session just after the first of the year. I'm hearing the stories, we're going to get this, we're going to get that, mm-hmm. We're going to go here, we're going there. And as an employer, I'm going, how in the world do I survive in that environment, let alone pay a good wage?
Right. They don't understand because they've not run a business. They don't understand what it takes to be responsible for signing those paychecks and making sure people get paid. And their philosophy of providing their social welfare is just to take more from business. They think that we're just a bottomless pit of money. They don't understand what it takes and what we have on the line to run our businesses. I'm a business owner. I have been for 30-some years. I know what it takes, and that's the reason I fight for business in this state. So we've got to educate them because what they're proposing does not work. It will drive businesses away, and we're going to see a lower standard of living here because we're going to lose more jobs.
So are the legislators, are they able to hear what you're saying? The question that I'm asking, really, as a business owner, it's I've gone to Santa Fe, I've gone to Washington, I've met with our congressional delegation, I've met with the folks in Santa Fe, and it's like talking to a wall.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what's sad. The people in New Mexico, I think when they serve in the legislature, they do it because they truly believe in the state and they want to make a difference.
Right.
So they don't understand the fundamentals of running a business and why what we're saying to them is important, because we know. And what breaks my heart is when I explain to them what their policies will do. And they get this really sad, dejected look. Their eyes fall down. And then they'll look back and they'll say, well, Carla, I understand, but I still have to vote for this because I was told to. That's what we need to stop. We need independent thinkers up there that can understand what they're doing.
You know what? I was in Santa Fe for a bill, this was a number of years ago, and it looked close. And then all of a sudden, and it was to push back on a bill that was going to cost jobs.
Right.
But it was what the Democratic leadership wanted. And there was one holdout, Democratic holdout. And I watched them work him. Mm-hmm. And number of Democratic leaders in the House walked up to him, had a conversation with him. Then they called him to the back room. Got called to the back room. I guess called to the carpet, right? That's the term, right? You know, or as Reagan would say, take him to the back of the woodshed.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, that vote turned.
Right.
So, and this gets back to what you and I talked about at the beginning is how strong a will you have to be willing to buck the system and to believe and stand for what you believe in.
Yeah, and it's not easy. So, you know, we see constantly, and the reason I started the Business Coalition is because I did not see another business group that was willing to stand up to those people and say it like it is and not back down. And that's why we started the Business Coalition. I'll compromise with anybody if it makes sense. They can provide new information to me. But if it's just nonsense about we're just going to take a little bit more skin from the business community, my answer's no.
Yeah,
and I
they've
don't
already
back
taken
down.
my hair,
I
right?
know, look at that.
You know, what's left? But again, so if we're going through this and going to the legislature during the session to try to educate them to go over the bills. We keep doing this every year. I've seen this over and over. So do we go out into the communities, meet with these legislators out in their communities, discuss Business 101, Economics 101? I think I hate to say it, but that's what I believe we need to do.
We do, but I will tell you where they really listen and where the Business Coalition is so effective is because we're a grassroots operation and we bring their constituents to them. Whether physically or in letters, in phone calls, we will have a call to action on a bill that's going to hurt business, and within an hour we can have literally hundreds of letters up there opposing that bill. Okay. So legislators didn't hear from people too much before. Now they hear from them through us. And it makes a difference because those are their constituents. Those are the people that are going to decide if they stay in office or not. And unfortunately, that's the way that we've got to sometimes get through to them is through the pressure of educating their constituents who will then explain to them how the rubber meets the road.
That gets to my next question. How do we educate the voter? See, right now, what I see is the voter is being enticed with, and I don't want to, I hate the term government handouts, free money, whatever, but what we want to talk about is how do we educate the voter that good paying, plentiful job comes from a business-friendly environment in our state versus government mandated requirements such as, prime example is raising the minimum wage. What's happening, I see, is that corporate restaurants have the resources to go to, like different restaurants that you see, you can order right there at the table without talking to a server. You can pay without a server. The only person you see is, do you need a refill? Can I get you something else? And those jobs are gone. And what we need to do is that the mandates really are an incentive to end employees.
It is. They're being replaced with electronics and downsized, and then the employees that stay have to work harder. They have to do more. So again, it's an educational process, yes, to the voter. Where I think it's effective is for employers. We educate employers. We ask the employers to talk to their employees and explain how these government mandates are going to impact that employer, which will then impact the employee. That's what's going to make the difference. So you have different groups of people. Those people that are unemployed and they don't care and they are getting government assistance, they don't have somebody to hear from. They just want the government to exceed what they're doing so that they can get more. We're not going to change their opinion.
You know, what I found, was across the board is when we talk about this, you know, people getting used to the government handouts, so then they're there and they're just looking. To get them back in the as the working, the hardworking members of our state, it takes a huge amount of effort on the state's part to push through that. But we also need good paying jobs so they have something to go to.
Right.
Because right now, if there's no good paying jobs, no opportunities out there, they're saying, okay, I'll go off assistance, but now what? We need those jobs. I want to move on here, and we touched about it during the segment, which this surprised me no end. And I was in Tucson, and I had a chance to chat with the guy down there. And I'd mentioned to him, I said, Brian, we're getting an Amazon fulfillment center in Albuquerque. And he goes, yeah, we have one here in Tucson. And then we started talking about Amazon. Well, first of all, the greatest good paying job that Amazon's got is for Jeff Bezos. Right, he's doing well.
Yes.
Right. And then the other item is that Amazon is being subsidized by the USA with the U.S. Postal Service.
Right.
They're subsidized. They're killing brick and mortar retail shops in our state. I'm seeing this over and over. And then, but here was the biggest shock that I had. He said, Mick, Amazon drives down wages. You know what I'm saying? How in the world can that be? And he said it goes like this, is that when companies like mine, he's a solar company, so they're looking for installers for solar panels. He said, when people come up and say, well, you know, that's not quite enough. And they say, well, you can always go to Amazon. And I'm thinking, then we go back to kind of changing, but it kind of not, is that the federal government has these prevailing wages. And they say, what's the average wage? That's a prevailing wage. That sets the standard. Well, Amazon is such a big employer that they set the standard for wages, and it's a low wage.
Right.
So what do we do?
Well, there's going to be more competition for workers and for employees, because we all, as employers, as business owners, we've got to have our employees, right? They're very important to our continuity. So we're going to have to compete to get those employees to come and work for us. And that means paying a fair wage and giving them good benefits. We don't need the government mandating to us that we need to do this.
You know what? That's right. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. This is, I think, what we see going on in our city, in our state, is happening across the country.
Yes.
That is, Amazon is killing our state, killing the country, and that is gross receipts tax is one of the biggest incentives for people to buy online.
Well, we've taken care of that, because now they have to pay gross receipts tax for online purchases. Yeah.
They should be.
They will. But, you know, then we paid to have Amazon come here and build that facility, right? We gave them all kinds of incentives to get them here, thinking that it would create new jobs. We're not creating economic-based jobs, though. That's the problem in New Mexico,
Hey,
and that's where
how come my company didn't get those same incentives?
Yeah, that's what we're always arguing. Give it
Okay.
to in-state companies first.
Okay. Well, look, Carla, we need to wrap it up, and thank you again.
You bet.
Helped her, let's see. Smith back to pass. Throws over to O'Toole on the slant cut. O'Toole breaks a tackle. 5, touchdown. 26-yard pass.
3 yards to go. The hand up to Joseph, and he's in. Touchdown, Matadors.
Figueroa's got the distance. Yes!
Oh man, this beat is crazy.
3rd and goal. Benavides rolls. Fires to the end zone, and it's caught. They can end the game.
They're going for a pass. They're not going to take any time.
And Harris has some movement if he wants to run. Instead, he's going to fire. Instead, he's going to go to the end zone, and it's caught. Touchdown. Works on 1st down and 10. A draw play handoff to the outside, and a nice spin move, and look out. Some room down the sideline. Shot out of a cannon all the way. The last. Play action as Petty's looking, and he fires, and he's got Hoffman across midfield, and it's a foot race now. Hoffman's going to race down the sideline, and no one's going to touch him. Touchdown.
And 1. Quarterback. He coughed up the football. It's going to be a scoop and score for Sandia.
Every week, but the kid's got tremendous poise and potential.
No doubt.
You can see they try to reverse again. And they do. Garcia's with it. He's got some block down the right side, some room. One man to beat, cuts it back at the 40 to the 45. Oñate, man, fumbled.
Oh my gosh.
Cougar picks it up and is going to run it in for a score. That's Jerome Benavides with a 50-yard return.
Wow.
Only 2nd down and 4.
Harris going to fire down the near side, looking for Phillips towards the end zone. Touch.
Welcome back again. I've got my good buddy here, Carla.
Yes.
And Carla, so not only is this New Mexico Business Coalition, but you are the New Mexico branch, if you want to call it that, for the National Manufacturers Association.
Right, we are.
So what does that mean?
Well, they work on the federal level on things that we're doing at the state level, and we work kind of hand in hand with them on a lot of the federal policy that's going to impact New Mexico. For example, the USMCA, United States-Mexico-Canadian Agreement.
Right.
That was huge for our state, being a border state. And NAM, the National Association of Manufacturing, took the lead on that. And we did in the state. And it took us months and months of educating the public to get our 5 national delegates on board with the USMCA. They were against it, yeah, just because Trump initiated it.
Right, that's right.
And eventually we convinced them this is critical for our state, and got them on board and got it passed, and we're already seeing the benefits
So
of
here
it.
was one thing that I found that was just, I was shocked over this, was I was down in Hondo and driving up, I think out of Roswell, maybe Artesia, up into the mountains. And I think, no, that isn't Hondo, but it was a little community down there, stopped in at a little roadside produce stand, apples, right? It was apple season. And he's telling me that their apple orchards are all gone, that with NAFTA, they were locked out of the market in Mexico.
Oh, wow.
They couldn't go down and sell their apples. They were to the point that now they were selling, what they were doing was selling the apple wood.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, gosh, yeah. And companies were coming in and cutting down the apple orchard for the wood.
Wow.
And that's when we talk about trade agreements. We don't think about this, right? But the impact on a local level, that was a small community.
Right.
And their apple orchards are completely gone. Of course, we have a few here. But that's where it can make a huge difference. Now, our good buddy, Neil Heiss, is a member of active in your organization.
Yes.
And he's down in Berlin with Semco. They used to be in Albuquerque, now they're down in Berlin. And they ship all over the world.
Right.
I
In
mean,
fact, they don't really have much of a market in New Mexico. We're fortunate to have them here because they do much, or probably all of their business outside of the state. So
right.
we're thankful to have them here. And I'm hopeful that the USMCA will be good for them as well, for all of our manufacturers.
Good. So, so you're able to convince our delegation.
Took a while.
It took a while. I can.
But we did, and they got on board because this is huge for our state, the USMCA.
It is.
Yes, President Trump did a great job there in getting that done, and we applaud him for the effort. We're glad our delegation got on board with it because we're already seeing benefits now.
Okay, what other manufacturers do we have in our state that ships internationally?
Well, we've got some wire manufacturing. We've got more people that are getting involved. You know, the labs are producing a lot of good spin-off companies coming out into the manufacturing realm. And so we're going to see that continue to grow, especially with the USMCA, because as that grows and we expand our market and hopefully our manufacturing here,
right,
they're more likely to go international, and that's the goal.
Okay, so we actually have companies here, manufacturers here for wire, copper wire?
We have, yes.
Where are they?
And
I'm curious, I mean, because that makes sense.
yeah, there's some manufacturing down in the southern part of the state.
Which would make sense since we have all the copper, yeah.
That's where the copper is. And
right, I'm on the interstate driving, and I look over and here's a semi heading out of state with these plates of, solid plates of copper heading to manufacturing out of our state. And I'm saying, why aren't they manufacturing here?
well, and we've got more problems too with our mining industry because of state regulation. There's a lot of regulation at the state level that's looking to shut down our extractive industries. That's something else that we do with NAM. You know, we just recently hosted Deputy Secretary Menzies in the state. About a month ago, he came in to announce that we finally, in the United States, are energy independent. This is a big deal. We've been talking about getting there. We are there. New Mexico now is number 3 for oil and gas. But we've got pressures on that industry that is not favorable to the industry, and it's very concerning. When it's about 30 to 40% of our budget, we better be careful with that industry.
Oh, well, not only that, I had, was chatting with Harvey Yates, and we were talking about it's taken us decades to get energy independent. The country had spent trillions of dollars to become energy independent, and we became energy independent with 0 government dollars, right? That to me was huge. And then lastly, because we're energy independent, that is why we have a real opportunity, not we, they, in the Middle East, to maybe have peace break out. That they're not dependent, the world isn't dependent on the oil. We don't have a gun to our head.
That's exactly right.
So I look at that. Now I understand that we're looking at a new mine down in just south of Deming for magnesium. Am I right? Is that coming together? Do you know?
They're trying, but you know, mining and opening new mining facilities in the state is very, very challenging. We had a copper mine attempting to open for years, and we've not seen any progress there. In the meantime, we've got new regulations coming out for methane and other things that are going to limit what we can do with oil and gas. And that's a problem. We do a lot of work on the federal level as well through our association with NAM, and that has been very beneficial. As a matter of fact, some news outlets throughout the U.S. look at the New Mexico Business Coalition as the voice for energy in New Mexico.
Oh, is that right?
Yes,
okay.
Because we have been on national calls as the only group outside of government to be on these calls, and so we have a lot of news media people that will contact us for quotes.
You know what's surprised? I'm not surprised what you just told me, because I have reached out to the New Mexico Oil and Gas Association to come on board. I have reached out to the independent oil and gas producers to come on board, those organizations, and nothing. That just, I mean, silence on their side. And it amazes me when we look at how important it is and how little people understand. So also, you touched on it, which I think is a good point, is that we're enacting new regulations for methane instead of offering incentives to the industry to use that methane, where we can use it at the wellhead.
Right, and do you know, they don't have a desire to flare or vent the methane. That is a product that they sell.
Oh, right.
They don't want to lose it. They have issues in how they're trying to take care of that. The venting and flaring is for safety reasons. It is not to just burn that and create problems in our atmosphere. And honestly, New Mexico has done a tremendous job of cleaning up its act in all of its energy production. And we should be celebrating that, but instead we're looking for new and more means to regulate them.
Yeah, so I look at the incentive side. The other note, I was reading an article where Europe is saying they want to do away with the, natural gas and decrease the imports from the United States for natural gas. I'm saying, oh man, that's going to hurt us. It's already hurting. But at the same time, I'm reading an article in Weekly Aviation, or Aviation Weekly, and they're talking about using hydrogen for powering planes. And the biggest source of hydrogen that's out there is natural gas.
Right.
Why isn't our state putting the incentives in and saying, we're going to start to open up a refining process for natural gas so we have hydrogen?
Because the environmentalists and those legislators that are aligned with them are more interested in shutting down the industry. They don't want to talk about how we can create jobs and wealth in our state. They just want to shut it down.
And I look at the hydrogen side and I'm saying a hydrogen-fueled vehicle or truck or plane is environmentally friendly. And the carbon footprint is substantially less than a battery-powered vehicle.
Yes.
That to me is remarkable, and it creates jobs right here in New Mexico. Good for the environment, good for jobs.
Right.
Good for New Mexico.
Exactly. So why can't we pursue things like that and create better for everyone?
Tell you what, I agree with that 100%. We need to kind of wrap this up. But again, what we're talking about is good paying jobs, plentiful here in New Mexico. Carla, thank you.
Thank you.
Nice catch. So back to pass now as Harris steps back and fires, and he's going
Deep across the middle, and it's caught. Malik Phillips dancing away.
In the first half, he's been under pressure all game anyway. Smith back to pass. They're trying to set up the screen to Barker, and they've got blockers in front. Barker cuts it back. Barker in the open field, 40, 45, 50. Barker's got one man to beat. Barker may go to the house, and he will. Caden Barker Jordan Barker touchdown, Carlsbad.
But here we go. Let's see how he does.
Cabrales will kick off from the 40 and
Drives it hard.
And here they try to see that reverse again.
He fakes it.
Oh, he's got it. He's got one man to beat and a blocker in front. 35, 40, 50, 45, he's gone. There's no Hornet that will catch him. Opening kickoff return for Slade Campos, 80 yards. And
ball falls for Nava, puts it forward for Moyers. Moyers gets it past the keeper, and it's 2-1.
Denard almost out by himself. They're looking for him. They throw it in the end zone, underthrown and caught. How about that? Mercy. Trevon Denard. Wow.
It's his night.
It's his night.
What's up? Uses that foot. No, this time she goes low. And there's a scrum there. The ball's loose. And it's up and it's in. How about that? Going top shelf.
Good dump and then a good wherewithal to keep it up. There's Jones on a good dig. Martinez. Huggins was blocked into a middle. Kept alive and then dumped back over. Let's keep playing, girls. Cross court this time from Cuperno. Jones sets to the outside. McIntosh was blocked. That's knocked back over. We'll continue the rally. Cooper on the right hand. Back row and McIntosh. A little miscommunication with Lucero. Let's see if that fires up these Cougars. Harris has some time. And a roll out looking. Harris fires on the move and it's complete. Slipping one. It's Webskowski and another, and it's a foot race. Shot out of a cannon. Justin Webskowski. Can he take it all the way? Touchdown.
The Jaguars. There's Smith again, cuts it back. Nice run by Smith, still on his feet, going to the end zone. Touchdown.
Harris with the fake pitch, and now a run to the outside, and he's got some room. Nice move, Harris, look out. He's across the 40, a cut to midfield. He's got a blocker in front. Look out. Chance Harris, shot out of a cannon, and he's going to take it all the way. Touchdown.
Welcome back. I've been meeting with my good buddy, Carla Sonntag with New Mexico Business Coalition. What we've been talking about is how to create good paying, plentiful jobs right here in New Mexico. It's about the incentives, the encouragement for employers to hire people, good people, the ones that we have right here in our state. And Carla, this is going to kind of jump to the, we're going to go back to where I started in my monologue, and it had to do with what I've mentioned before, is that your organization, I was touched by, that you start with a heartfelt prayer, and then it's the pledge, and then it's into business. And what I've seen happen in our state and across the country is that we have the folks over here, what I call the social conservatives, the staunch, heartfelt Christians, and I consider myself one. And then at the same time, we have the libertarians, the really the business focused. I consider myself one of them as well. I'm not sure where, I'm getting torn between the two. But again, what I noticed is that you, as a strong Christian woman, believes in the sanctity of life. But you're leading up an organization that's saying, man, we're going to lead, I'm leading with business. I'm going to lead with good paying jobs to support families right here. You've been able to bring those two factions together. I don't see that our state's been able to do that. Republicans, haven't been able to do that. I see it on a national level. We see where in a couple critical states, the libertarians peeled off enough votes, just like what the Greens did back, I can't remember who ran for office, where the Greens pulled off enough votes where I think George H. won, right? And so these are the things that we're seeing.
Right.
So how do you see bringing the conservatives together under one big tent?
Well, we've been doing that since the beginning. We're nonpartisan, and we actually have a really good following of Democrats, Libertarians, Decline to State, Republicans. There are people that see the common sense of what we're talking about, and so they do come together. As a Christian, I put God first, and you know, if you really want a good guide for how to run a business, look to the Bible.
Yeah.
And so we try to find those issues, whether you believe in the Bible or not, but those good business principles that we can all come together and agree on. So we leave out the issues that are very divisive and move to those business issues, because if we can agree on that, there is a lot that we can do together.
You know what, amen, right? Amen. But
Yes.
what I hear you talking about is that, you know, we conservatives, Republicans, you know, we have this basic core principle of it's about low taxes, it's about decreased regulations, decreased taxes, it's about more freedom. And when we talk about freedom, it's the freedom of speech. It's the freedom to practice religion. It is these basics that,
Right.
the core values of what started our country. And what I see about is that there's a lot of divisive things out there that we can get into the weeds to separate us.
Right.
And when we do that, we're lost.
Right, and we have to be very careful about how we communicate too, because when we talk about low regulation, a lot of people, like environmentalists, they don't understand that. They think that we want to get rid of anything that's going to control our clean air, clean water.
Oh, that's right.
So we need to make sure that we're communicating in a way that resonates with people. And that is something we've spent a lot of time on. We've got to get out of those key terms that everybody likes to use as a conservative and talk common sense with people about what makes sense. And again, so we go back to reasonable regulation. How can we assure that we have clean air, clean water, clean land, and yet allow business to continue, oil and gas to continue drilling and creating these wonderful, good-paying jobs that we have? That's the conversation that we need to have. It has to be real to them, and you have to talk to their heart about how can they feed their family? How can they get in these good-paying jobs?
So this reminds me of a situation that happened in my company a number of years ago. We had a new employee, and he'd been with us for just a couple months, and we have a paid leave policy. And you can use your leave for, you know, assortment of reasons. So he had some medical issues, and he hadn't accrued enough time. And our payroll person came up to me and said, Mick, you know, so-and-so doesn't have enough time to cover these days that he's off. I said, I'm not going to worry about it. Mm-hmm. So he worked for us, and then he got healthy, got better within a couple months, and he quit. And he quit with owing personal time. Mm-hmm. And my payroll person came up to me and said, Mick, we need to institute new procedures so this doesn't happen. And I said, I am not going to change the way I've done business for 20 years because one person has taken advantage for a couple days. We need to look at this as we shouldn't put the whole hammer down on everybody because there's a couple people that have stepped over the line. We need to hold them accountable, mm-hmm. but not take the freedom away from everybody else,
right?
Which I see is happening in our state. And I agree with you when we talk about burdensome regulations. Burdensome regulations are the ones that really penalize the companies, the individuals, the ranchers, the farmers,
right,
that are trying to put food on our tables, that are creating good-paying jobs for our families.
And that's the reason why business owners and employers need to be having these conversations with their employees, because you spend so much time together. You know, it's like a second family with your employees. You need to talk to them about what's important and what you're trying to do for them and how these new regulations are going to impact your business and your ability to help them, which impacts their ability to feed their family. When you make it real for them and put it in terms that resonate with them, then we have a better conversation. We have more people working together, because then you see the light bulbs come on and they're like, oh, now I get it.
Right, yeah, that, oh,
Because
right.
that could be impacting me. Yeah, let's talk about this. And that's what we need to do.
I agree with that 100%. It was, I believe it was here in Albuquerque, and they were looking to push the family leave, the personal time. I can't remember all the parameters, but the conversations that we had in our office, in our company, trying to figure out with our staff, how is this bill going to action negatively impact them? And how does this all going to work? And it became really, so here I am going over these policies with individuals, and they're starting to realize, if I'm having a hard time explaining it to them, and here it is, I have an engineering degree, you know, they can understand how difficult these bills are. That
Right.
It's chasing employers out, it's decreasing the work, you know, good paying jobs, all of these things. So, but to get back to uniting Republicans, and one of the things I thought was just very remarkable to me was, read an article, I can't remember where it was, but it talked about how was it that the Republicans in Wisconsin could win in a Democratic state. And it was Rias Previs was the chairman of Wisconsin Republican Party. And he reached across what we're talking about, reached across and bring people together and unite them as a united Republican Party, and they're able to be successful.
Right. And his message, though, was getting to people to understand how it impacted them. We can't be talking policy to people that aren't impacted by the policy that they're aware of. You need to bring up their awareness level about how it's impacting. And he was very good at that, communicating with everybody across the board. And that's what united them, and that's how they were able to win in Wisconsin.
I look at New Mexico and I say, how do we go from the bottom 10 to the top 10 in 10 years? And the way we're going to do it is to educate the people out in New Mexico what creates good paying jobs. Carla, great to have you here. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. This is Mick Rich, To the Point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at ProView Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.